welcome back to Lola Falashe here from Berean Workshop, and we are going to continue with our case study on harmonizing faith and finance. And so last time I talked about the whole introduction, the why and the what, harmonizing faith and finances. Today I want to talk a little bit about the wealth tower. Okay, so for a little bit of context, the wealth tower was is a concept that I learned from a mentor of mine called James Hamilton, Roger James Hamilton, I beg your pardon, of Genius U. And so I'll go into what the tower is in a minute. But the idea is that one is able, if one understands that wealth is the accumulation of knowledge and skills, that as you combine and compound over time, it takes you from one level of wealth to the next level, and then to the next level. So there are 9 levels in total, but we're only going to deal with 1, 2, 3, 5 levels in our study, okay? And I'll talk a little bit about it. So I have changed slightly the levels, the names of the levels. So it's not exactly the Genius U version. This is just the Berean Workshop version. I think it makes things a little bit easier for us. Okay, so let me share my screen and talk a little bit about what the tower is, what the tower is, and then we could take it from there. Okay, so there we go. Right, so this is the wealth tower. The wealth tower is essentially, like I said earlier on, the different levels of wealth, right? So, so whenever we are going through our journey of wealth creation, we can have this in the back of our minds. This is the concept, is the idea of stepping through the levels. Okay, so let's go straight through it, right? What I've done here is I've taken the liberty of putting the rock at the very base. Okay, so this is the rock here. So Jesus said, anyone who listens, who hears his words and applies his words is like a person who builds on a rock, because when the storm comes and hits it, then it stands. But if you don't, then you're like you're building on sand. And this is the reason why we grounded the whole series on faith before we start to build our personalized wealth tower. I think it's also important to mention that everything we do here is personalized, right? So it's not generic, or it's not sort of like a general thing. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So the foundation is always the rock. So Jesus is the rock. His principles, his teachings about life in general, about who we are, spiritually, who we are, you know, emotionally and mentally, and then also financially as well, constitutes this rock that we're talking about. Okay, so him being the rock is not just to save our lives alone, but also, again, like I said, to have dominion. Okay, good. So we have enlightenment to create wealth, and we have dominion, like I said in the last video. Okay, cool. So the rock. So the first level, actually, I should have put a nice line here, because after the rock, what you will find is that it is not uncommon to find believers who are building, having struggles, okay, financial struggles, and that's okay. It's a good starting position, right? So if you're a Christian, you're a believer, and you're struggling, do not see it as something that's strange. The Bible tells us a lot to count it all joy when we face diverse trials, okay? Because what it's doing is building us, is creating something in us, it's growing us, okay? So that's a struggle. And I've said here, the whole idea of the struggle level on this wealth tower is that when a believer is in struggle, they fall deeper in debt, I beg your pardon, in debt, month after month. Okay, so I was in this situation for too long, struggling. Every month, I just seemed to be going deeper and deeper in debt, right? And I just couldn't work it out. You know, I prayed about it. I paid my tithe and my offerings, but I just struggled. I just didn't know how to get out of debt. And I think debt is designed in a way that you're always spiraling downwards rather than upwards, because if you think about it, inflation at the moment I hear is 9%, but the average, say, credit card debt or whatever kind of debt it is you know, the average is about 25%. So you're always paying more servicing your debt than you are actually living life. So that debt cycle is designed that way, to keep you struggling. So I stayed in the struggling sort of like level for a long time. And I think I started to take action when the pain got a little bit too much. I'm rubbing my head because thinking back about it right now is giving me a little bit of anxiety and not anxiety, but yeah, it's just thinking back. I'm feeling a little bit unhappy about it. But anyway, so yeah, falling into debt every month is, it's just the way it is. Now, there were three things that I put together. So it's a combination of, like I said, skills, knowledge, and actions that you have to take, put in place, some really strong disciplines and practices that will take you out of struggle and take you to that next level, which is survival. Okay, so I put those three things, and I'll be sharing what they are in future videos. So when I put those three things in place, it took a while. It wasn't easy because every time you need to create a new practice, a new habit, it takes time. But if you're consistent and you commit to it, then you'll be fine. Emerson, uh, Ralph Waldo Emerson said that commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Let me say that again. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. The promise is if you put the right actions, the right habits and disciplines in place, you will get the results that you desire. Okay, as long as those actions and those disciplines and the knowledge have been tested and they've been tried and you've seen results, you know they'll give you results. So that's what I did. Put those three things in place. I'll tell you what those three things are later on. Okay, so look out for the next for subsequent videos that will break it down to you. So I was in struggle for a while, and then once I put those three things in place, I moved on to that survival zone. So once I got into the survival zone, the characteristics of the survival zone really is that you're making just enough money to have nothing left over. So you're not actually in debt, you're not spiraling down, always in the red. You're living paycheck to paycheck, or even what I used to find out is about the first week after payday, I'm back into that sort of like overdraft zone and even still spending on my credit card. It was a mess. I was a mess. It was terrible. It was terrifying as well. Anyway, so in the survival mode, you're just making enough. So you're not spiraling down, but life is still not very much fun. I couldn't do a lot. I was even worried about, treating myself and my family because there wasn't much left over after I'd serviced all of my expenses and everything. So life was quite limited. It wasn't fun at all. Okay. So now, according to the Wealth Tower and like I said, Roger James Hamilton's formula for the Wealth Tower, they're also the first three things that take you from struggle to survival. You don't sort of like discard them, you keep them churning on, but you need three other elements on top of those three. So those three plus your new three will take you from survival into stability. Again, I'll show what those six are. So you have those six disciplines, three from struggle to survival, and then from survival to stability, you need the six, right? So 3 plus 3, 6, okay. Takes you to stability. Now, with stability, again, this was a season where I found myself working really hard, but I didn't know how to multiply my income, right? So I was not living beyond my income anymore. There was something left over, and I just thought, okay, this is good, but I want more, right? I want more not because for any other reason, but because I felt that I had the potential to do more, so I could do a lot more and have more impact in society, be more useful, right? And maybe slowly move away from exchanging my time for money. And I know this is almost like a cliche, but when you think about it, originally before the industrial era, the age of exchanging time for money. Before that, you never really exchange time for money. You exchange value for money. So the agricultural time, I think, and I always struggle to mention to use that word, agrarian age, agricultural, right? So you take agricultural stuff, and then you would exchange for money, right? So when we moved into the industrial age, that's when we started to exchange time for money, and we moved out of the industrial age now. So even though it might sound a little bit of a cliche, but it's the truth. We need to move on from that. And even if it's a staggered process, it's still better than just staying exchange time for money. Why? Because time is limited, and I don't believe that time was actually designed for you to exchange that for money, because that means you can only earn a limited amount of money. You will not have the impact that you see in your dreams, right? Because you can't do beyond, just taking care of yourself. Anyway, so you move from struggle to survival, from survival to stability, and then the next step really on that wealth tower is to move into success. So when you take the three habits, the three skill set actions that take you into survival, You couple that with the next three to give you six, that brings you stability. You need another three, which I'll talk about in the next video, which makes nine strong practical steps and actions. It now takes you into success, right? So success is now where you're now in the creative realm, right? So you could have maybe your 9 to 5 and the side hustle to begin with. You're maybe like a solopreneur. You could also even be self-employed. What do they call these people? Freelance type, gig. You're creating something, you're selling. So now you can actually multiply your value, or the asset class that you use, or the product that people need. That way you can now scale up or scale down if you need to, but yeah, you can really scale your income. So that's what we'll call the success. So success is, I think for us, success will be the stage where you are now able to earn money while, again, a bit of a cliche, but it's true, earn money while you're sleeping, earn money while you're on holiday, earn money while you are whatever, whatever you want to do with your time. Of course, it's easier said than done, but it's actually doable. Okay. Right. So that's success. So we've got 9 disciplines that takes us into success. And once we're there, and then we need to, I actually spent 5 years building a business and really having some experience in that process, doing all of the client acquisition and then doing the delivery and the offers and the marketing and the sales. It was fun, a lot of hard work. And of course, the pandemic came and sort of like things took a turn. Anyway, and some people might even have a question, and I think someone has asked me a question now, what happens when you go from success back to stability? They say because of the pandemic, for example, and you need to step back, right? So that happened to me as well. So I moved back into 9 to 5 for a while, and then I kind of like continued with the business. And some people will say, yes, they've experienced that. How do you sustain or sustain that success level? Because I don't want to go down the tower. Instead, I want to go up the tower. Again, we'll be talking a little bit about that. Okay, so once you're in success, and we now need to move to significance, there are three, you've guessed it, another three that we add to the original 9 that got us to the success level. We add those 3 elements, the skills, the actions, the knowledge into that to take us to significance. Now, the significance zone on this wealth tower is where you are actually, you've got maybe multiple businesses, or you're involved in multiple large projects, and you now have multiple streams of income coming in. Okay, in the success zone, you'll have multiple streams of income, but in the significance, you're doing actually a lot more, and you're able to also begin to realize that impact in your community and outside as well, because you're never really successful or significant if you're not doing stuff in your community, you're not adding value, you're not helping someone else, or bringing value into your community, or even not just maybe the small, your immediate community, or even the wider community as well. So this is the whole idea of the wealth tower. I'm going to leave it there. One other thing I'll just mention before I leave is that wealth, again, we've talked about this, wealth is created. Wealth is not created by exchanging time for money. You won't really get the levels of wealth, or you cannot attain the maximum potential of your wealth creation if you're only exchanging time for money. Okay. What you do is, for wealth, you always bring value in exchange for money. And so the more you can leverage that value, the more you can create wealth. And we'll talk a little bit about that, right? So there's a multiplying. So when we talk about leverage, there's a multiplying and magnifying effect that leverage brings. Okay. So the wealth tower is a concept, something for us to just help us measure. One of my favorite teachers used to say, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage, right? So this wealth tower, the purpose of it is to help us to say, okay, this is where I am. I've measured where I am right now. I might be in struggle or survival, for example, and I can measure that. We'll talk about how you measure that as well later on. Then let me manage using those 3, 6, 9 elements and disciplines and actions to take me to that next level. Okay, that's what the wealth tower is. Just a practical way of measuring where you are, so you can measure. And so again, the saying goes, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage, and what you can't manage, you can never actually improve. Okay, so as we measure and manage the different levels, we can then improve our actions, improve our knowledge, improve our skill set, and then it takes us further up the wealth ladder. Okay, hope that made sense. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll respond. Okay, until I Until next time, I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.